let's dig into the PS4 end of the year. Closed out the year pretty strong with exclusives. Again, 2 games that we didn't know when we would finally see.
Nope.
Until we saw them. And then we reviewed them if we're Peter Brown. Both of them.
Nope.
What?
Final Fantasy is not exclusive.
Sorry, shit. One big exclusive, but another game we didn't see, but I've been playing Final Fantasy on PS4.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you saying nope over and over? What am I saying wrong?
I was reveling in it as you kept talking secretly.
It's been a long episode.
Yes.
But yes, PS4. 2 new iterations of the PS4 have released this year. Again, we saw a few exclusives. We kind of, saw the beginning of these consoles being updated, much like you might a PC almost, maybe not as often or as in depth. But PS4 Slim released. Let's talk about that quick. What did that change? Was it just the size? Was it what of the hardware would make this appealing to someone who didn't initially have a PS4?
Cheaper, smaller. I think just more pleasing in terms of both its aesthetic and the materials that it uses. And it came with HDR support, which now is supported by the entire PlayStation line. But it's just like a more refined system. I think there was the original design was sort of pow, look at this very slick design thing. And now it's just all right, it's just a good game console. We've made it a little bit smoother. So that's it.
I like the original design more. Than
I
think so.
Like the sharp edges, parallelogram kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I forget if it's a parallelogram or a rhombus. One of those is the other. I'm not a geometrist. PS4 Pro a few months later. Hit me with that. Why would I want to get this?
More power. That's it.
Yeah. HDR.
HDR is that's you can get that on any of the PlayStations. 4K is a thing, but it's it's not perfect. There's
some
a lot
games
of issues.
do it, some don't.
Some do, some don't. Yeah, it's the sort of fears I had when Microsoft was talking about the Scorpio. D3 was true 4K gaming. It's stop lying to people. You're not going to get 60 frames per second 4K at the same fidelity you had at 1080p. And yes, the Scorpio may be more powerful than the Pro. But here we are with a system that is upgraded, that is offering a very similar promise, and it's kind of doing it, but not really. Comes with a bigger hard drive on the Pro. That's nice.
Doesn't have Blu-rays. Doesn't have Blu-ray.
It has Blu-ray. It doesn't have UHD.
Doesn't have UHD support.
Yeah.
Which Scorpio
does.
We don't know.
The S does.
S does. The Scorpio
probably
probably
mixed up. Yeah. They need to come up with a new name because Scorpio and S are similar. What were you just going to say, Jake?
I think with the PS4 Pro, at least it seems like something if you don't have a PS4, it would be good to get, I guess. And if you have a 4K HDR TV, however, if you don't, I don't know. It's cool that you have that option, but I don't think I'd get it, at least not right now.
No. And it's a lot of people were hoping, and I'm glad it didn't turn out this way because I don't sound like a liar after the fact, but it does not benefit PlayStation VR. You still have to use that breakout box. Everyone will say, oh, you're not going to have to do it with the Pro. It's going to be this VR machine. That's not the case.
Yeah. PSVR, you just brought it up.
I know.
Good segue.
Thank you.
I'm getting tired. You're not.
Oh, I am very tired.
Oh, man. All right, so PSVR, we talked about this extensively earlier on the show. This is the first year we have an actual VR category in our end-of-the-year awards. PSVR is the most accessible by price, and I think, again, if you weren't really on the lookout for VR and you see that it's there for your console that you've owned for 4 years, go for it, I guess.
Just go for it.
Just get it. Get after it. In terms of the software library, we mentioned this a little bit. Hit or miss, kind of. Jimmy said he thinks a few titles are worth the purchase, punching above their weight.
Yeah, I mean, don't really worry about them being exclusive or not, right? I think just the fact that it's great on a console alone is special. It would be Thumper. It's an amazing VR game, and that works wonders on PS4. Rez is a PS4 exclusive, Rez Infinite, and that is special as well. A few misses, along the way, like Rush of Blood. The what was the series that was tied to? Until Dawn, right?
But that was on rails, weird standalone spin-off.
You're going through an amusement park firing light guns. I mean, the software needs to catch up, and we don't really have a great sense of what the next great VR title will be for PlayStation 4. But it's certainly it's easy to set up, it works well, and it's comfortable to use. And it's just a matter of time for developers to say, okay, cool, people like this. Let's give them what they want.
As a fan of Resident Evil, I'm hoping Resident Evil makes good use of it. I've played it. I'm not totally convinced yet, but maybe when I'm playing through an entire playthrough, I'll change my mind. It also is sorry, what?
I was going to say, I hope that even if I don't love VR in Resident Evil 7 for the whole time, it uses those tapes to put you in new scenarios. Yep. I can imagine just distinct one-off moments in that game where you're I want this moment in VR, not to feel like you have to do the whole thing.
Well, yeah, we mentioned this earlier. You could just you go one playthrough, you could load up a save, play VR whenever. You don't have to dedicate or commit to one VR playthrough, one just standard playthrough. So that would be like ease of use in general. And Jimmy was saying this is probably the most comfortable headset.
It is.
Yeah,
by far.
Because you've used all of them pretty extensively.
No, it's so simple to use and it's balanced really well. It's heavier than I think the Vive, but you wouldn't know it.
So I think PSVR accomplished what it needed to as far as like bringing VR to that audience, and I think like it's showing promise definitely. And like I said, here's hoping it follows through with Resident Evil 7. Let's get into the games before we close out the show. The Last Guardian, most recent. We didn't ask the reviewer with you earlier in the show. If you want to watch that, you can go dive into that on your own. But I do want to touch on it.
Yeah,
great game. You gave it a 9 out of 10, despite some frustrations. This nailed it after 10 years in development.
Yeah, it is just an amazing game that you can't point to anything parallel on any other platform. I mean, it's not that it could only be done on PlayStation 4, but that's the only place you can play it. And I think everyone should experience The Last Guardian.
I'm gonna bounce back and forth between like bigger games and some like not like such huge AAA games. Jake, you brought up Alienation today from Housemarque. I was right the first time. Stop me when I'm doing this. Housemarque, Jake, you and I have played this cooperatively a lot. It kind of like had the same kind of like, it's like Diablo mixed with Helldivers if you've played those two. I don't know, you liked this game a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. We didn't play as much as I would have liked, but you and I together played quite a bit, and I think it's just it does have a lot of those kind of complexities that Diablo does, like the loot grinding, but it still has that great sort of feel to it that Housemarque games typically have. At least, most people think of Resogun. And it plays great, it feels great. It's a lot of fun, especially if you've got co-op. I know at first it launched though, and I don't think there was couch co-op, but now there is. It's definitely worth looking into, I think.
This isn't a console exclusive anymore. The Witness originally released for PS4 and Windows, I believe, in January, and then September it's since come to Xbox One, but originally it was a PS4 exclusive. I reviewed this, gave it a 9 out of 10. This is one of my favorite games of the year. I think this game is really important. It's tough to show it in gameplay like we're showing now. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. It's I think it was originally famous just because Jonathan Blow, who did Braid, worked on it, and you can call Braid and this game pretentious, and I think they very much are to a certain extent, but this game is really special. I think they take these mazes and they take the world and tie them together and tell this really cool contextual environmental story in such a way that it is one of my most memorable experiences. One of the hardest games I've ever played, one of the most intellectually challenging, and just tested my patience in so many ways throughout the process, but it's well worth checking out, and I think the PS4 was better off at the beginning of this year for it.
You're like a psychopath when you're reviewing this game. You're like a notebook that you'd open up, write things down. You wouldn't even be playing the game. You're like, well, what's he doing over there? Sketching out your different.
Yeah,
leave me alone.
Yeah. Michael Hyam, our associate tech editor, was. He had a notebook open on his desk today. I was like, "Are you playing The Witness?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm finally getting into it." I was like, "Dude, I think everybody has that psychopath, serial killer notebook somewhere."
Made of human skin.
Yes, made of hair and human.
What's weird is that after a while, you were just writing down people you're gonna kill.
Yeah,
it wasn't even
slowly.
And it was just all Mike.
You just start looking more and more like Jonathan Blow the more you play it.
Oh, God.
So yeah, the beginning of this year, PS4 kicked it off really well with that. Big game followed in March, maybe May. I reviewed this game. I should know when it released. Uncharted 4, probably the bigger exclusive aside from maybe The Last Guardian for PS4 this year. Naughty Dog. It was the first Uncharted without Amy Hennig writing. She's doing working on Star Wars titles now up at EA and everything. And I really love this game. I gave it a 10 out of 10. You could throw food at me if you want or something. Tomatoes if we were in a crowded theater hall. No, I love this game. I think they not only did it tell an amazing character-driven, nuanced story on its own in a world that with moments I have not forgotten yet, and I don't think I ever will. It actually addressed Nathan Drake as a character from the first 3 games. It made the first 3 games even more powerful. I don't love the first game. I think the 2 is fantastic game. I think the general consensus is 3. I think stumbled a little bit, but I still love it. 4, I think it's the best Uncharted game. It is one of my favorite games ever. I love this game. I love the set pieces in it, just being dragged through the mud on these trucks, jumping from truck to truck, and motorcycle in Madagascar. It's gorgeous. I can't say enough about it. I want to talk about it more, but unfortunately we don't have time. But Jake, I know you liked Uncharted 4. Yeah, Pete, you both liked Uncharted 4 a lot.
Yeah. I think at least my favorite thing with Uncharted 4 is that Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, those stories felt very much about Nathan Drake, and this one does too. but it does put a lot of focus on a lot of its side characters, something that you were actually bringing up yesterday. Like, Elena plays a huge role in this, like just those two interacting. And there's like a great scene that I know we've talked about
There's
a lot.
a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, or there's a few,
One
but there's one in
standout,
particular that I
definitely.
think you know what I'm talking about. And then Sully too. And it's just a beautiful ending to a series that I've grown so attached to.
I don't think it's just like a great like Indiana Jones-esque story anymore. I think they actually explored how his actions and his adventures have affected the people around him, and I think it was pretty powerful. And I think if you finish the game, you know it kind of becomes about why these stories can be important and like how it can help people. And I thought it was an amazing game in every single way. And then No Man's Sky released on PS4 back in June.
Yes.
We've been waiting for that for a while. And again, another game with a long development cycle. Pete, naturally, you would review it as you did the rest of this year. You like this game. You gave it a 7 out of 10 from what I remember. And it's since been updated with a big patch that adds these freighters and base building, which Rob said makes the game better, but doesn't like drastically change it. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, there's a lot of shit surrounding this game now because, whether it be like developer promises, like perceived developer promises, whether they delivered on that or not. I don't know, but in general, you seem to like this game.
I mean, they basically promised a slicker, more accessible EVE Online, and what we got was not that.
Yeah.
You can't meet other people in the world, even if you are on the same planet. You will not see them. You will run into stuff that people named, but that's about it. And so what you're left with is just a massive galaxy where you're hopping between star systems, and it all happens very seamlessly with kind of trippy spectacle that just adds a bit of magic to the whole process. And then you dive down into these planets and explore. Some are very pleasant, some are very hazardous, some have no resources at all, and you've doomed yourself by landing and walking away from your ship. Others are just rich and bountiful, and you're leaving behind it's that old story of someone trying to carry too much treasure out of a place and like dooming themselves because they were so greedy. I mean, this game, you can kill yourself by being too greedy because you're spending too much time and just dying. Very fascinating game for a lot of reasons, but it's missing that the heart and soul. Like the only motivation in the game, well, there are two, is one, to get to the center of the galaxy, and two is to follow this path, this thing called Atlas is sort of beckoning you. I found that to be really fulfilling. It was kind of short-lived, and it was very linear in how it was told. So while very interesting, it wasn't enough to elevate the game to a must-play game. Mm-hmm. Really happy I played it. I think I put like 70 hours into it, and I could have played a little bit more, definitely, if not for new games.
Yeah, and obviously, again, it's been updated since very recently, about a week ago, and you can play it in that updated form now. So yeah, overall, pretty strong lineup for PS4 this year. There was no Bloodborne, so that's a bummer. There's no Bloodborne 2 yet. Let's hope that get announced. Bloodborne was my game of the year last year.
Old
personal.
Hunters? No, Old Hunters was
Old
end
Hunters
of last
was end of last year,
Yeah,
but
right.
still. Anyway, so yeah, again, if you're watching this live, it's not up yet, but if you're watching this on YouTube or GameSpot, you can read the more in-depth end-of-the-year report card for PS4 written by one of our editors, and go check that out.